welcome to Shell Point Today for Monday, November the 14th. I'm Rich Nation. On today's show, Professor Adrian Kerr will preview his academy class on how England managed the separation of Southern Ireland, Pakistan, and India. And we'll also show you some highlights from this year's Holiday Craft Bazaar. But first, we would like to remind you of tomorrow's Health Connections class, Skin Cancer, Detection, Prevention, and Treatment. It will be presented by Haken Dermatology. If you are concerned about or have been diagnosed with skin cancer, come learn what you can do about it and whether or not you are in serious danger. The presentation takes place in the Social Center at 10:15 a.m. on Tuesday. Looking ahead to this Thursday, there are several events taking place. The Aviation Club will have a special guest speaker. I hear he's wonderful and fascinating and knows all about flying drones. He even has a pilot's license and operates Shell Point's aerial camera. Oh, wait a minute. That's Dan Philgreen. Yes, he will be the guest speaker, so make sure to come to the Aviation Club meeting, which will be held in the Social Center at 1:15 p.m. After his presentation, you will go outside for a flight demonstration over the island lagoon. It will be both informative and enjoyable, so everyone come on out. Another offering you might be interested in that keeps things firmly on the ground is the Computer Club. Their meeting will be at 2:15 in the Manatee Room on Thursday. Come hear Mike Peterson from Computer Medics as he shares about hotkeys that are present on every laptop keyboard and even some desktops. These shortcut keys enable you to access special commands and make operating computers more enjoyable. And finally, on Thursday evening, you can head off campus and enjoy a Tony Award-winning musical entitled My Fair Lady at the Gulf Shore Playhouse. Court pickups begin on the island at 6 p.m. and the cost of the outing is $60. Come see this high-energy 10-person, 2-piano theatrical version of the heartwarming musical. Just call either service desk to sign up. And now, Professor Adrian Kerr is sitting with Teri Kollath to give us a preview of tomorrow's Academy class called Partition. He'll explain how England managed the separation of Southern Ireland, Pakistan, and India.
Hi, I'm Teri Kollath here today with Professor Adrian Kerr. Professor Adrian Kerr has pulled together a class for us that actually takes the partition of several important colonies and discusses them in one course for us. Thanks for joining me, Adrian.
It's always a pleasure to be here at Shell Point, Teri.
Well, we've so enjoyed the way that you have brought us the history of England, the history of India, and so it comes to our mind that these colonies and their separation from the mother country had a lot of commonalities.
They did. The turning point really is probably around 1900, in that the number one power in the world, militarily and also with political and financial clout, was the United States. And the United States overtook Britain as the world's number one power in the late 19th century, early 20th century, but never ascribed to actually develop an empire or colonies, one or two exceptions, because of the history of Monroe, for instance. No fiddle, no messing around in our backyard, we won't mess around in your backyard. So United States was the growing giant, but had no colonies, but was looking down on those European powers that had colonies, and colonies were becoming out of fashion. And the way in which the people in the colonies were treated was getting higher and higher profile. And so we have two separate desires in two different parts of the world of the British Empire to give home rule, if you like, which is the term that was used in those days, to the situation in Ireland and the situation in India and Pakistan. And they were different time periods. It started, Ireland had been fighting for independence in one form or another since the middle of the 19th century. Ireland, of course, was completely run out of London or occasionally out of Dublin, but it was just a part of the United Kingdom, like Scotland and Wales. And yet the Irish saw themselves as being different because they predominantly were Catholic, and they were being ruled by a predominantly Protestant power who never really embraced the Irish population in the way in which they had the Northern Irish Protestants and the other members of the United Kingdom. I'm speaking now from the Southern Irish point of view. So you see a growing desire for home rule, and Britain in the 19th century, Gladstone, when he became Prime Minister again, he leant on his axe after cutting down trees in Wales and said, my mission is to pacify Ireland. There have been a number of uprisings, there have been famines. It was very difficult, and he was far-sighted enough to realize that sooner or later Ireland would have, part of Ireland would want home rule. And so it all comes to a horrible situation when England is absolutely up to its eyes in fighting Germany in the First World War, and then the Easter Rising occurs in her backyard, and that was put down very brutally, and there were many martyrs formed. But that's the coalescence, if you like, of Irish freedom fighters. It happened beforehand, and Britain had put it on ice, but now Britain knew that come the end of the First World War, something had to be done. And the story of how you then divide this mixed Protestant Catholic country to give them certain independent rights to choose whether they stay with Britain or to become part of Éire, Southern Ireland. That debate is quite interesting and still goes on to the 60s, and you see that reflected in the Troubles, as they're called, in Northern Ireland throughout the late 60s and early 70s. So that's one story.
Right.
The other story is a similar situation in India. In those days, there was no Pakistan. And again, around about the middle of the 19th century, the English called it the Mutiny, the famous Indian Mutiny. The Indian historians called it the first step towards independence, or the first revolutionary movement. You can decide which is correct. But that was the first bloody event of significance, which poked England in the eye and said, hey, there's some people in India who don't like the idea of being run from London.
It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you'll join us to hear more about partition, how England managed separation of Southern Ireland, Pakistan, and India.
A couple weeks ago, the annual Holiday Craft Bazaar was held at the Woodlands Commons. People from within and outside of Shell Point came to see the fantastic holiday creations and crafts on display for purchase. Items created or enhanced by many of our Shell Point artisans and talented residents. So here's a look back at some of the highlights and sights of that event.
There's the end.
And now it's time to cover all of today's happenings, Academy news, menus, and Village Church connections. But first, this Listening to the Words preview from David Howenstein.
Listening to the Words Encore program is in store for you all this week on Shell Point's Channel 12. This program 23 first aired in April of 2011. In the 1940s, the USO began inviting performers to entertain our troops, prominent among those entertainers being Bob Hope. This being an encore program, you'll note reference to a May 2011 USO event at Shell Point. This encore program also presents a great story about little Joe McCallie and his friends meeting Frank Sinatra. You will also hear Nina Marshall's poem, Awakening Melody of Spring. That's followed by former Shell Point resident Ken Masters' poem about reaching the age of 81. Then hear the first descriptive piece I wrote as a youngster. Then a Russ Miller story titled An Angel Sent from God. You'll also enjoy a Bad Hair Day poem by a 13-year-old. And remember those Burma shave signs? I'll be reading several of them. Please note that the next 7 days on Shell Point Channel 12 will include not only this Listening to the Words program and the usual replays of Shell Point Church services on Tuesday and Thursday, but also replays of the Shell Point Quarterly Meeting, each day at 10 a.m. and again at 2 p.m. Between all these programs, you will see notifications of when features are airing. Thank you for watching Channel 12. And at any time, you can listen to Program 23 of Listening to the Words online at www.shellpoint.net/listening.
Hello and welcome to the Happening segment of Shell Point TV. I'm Bev Chandley.
And I'm Dora Robbins.
And we're going to go over the activities that we offer for you here today at Shell Point. We're going to start with pickleball at the game courts behind the Resident Activity Center at 8 o'clock. And at 8:45, we'll find virtual bowling in the Resident Activity Center. At 9:15, billiards will also be in the Resident Activity Center. The Lollygagger paddlers will be heading out at 9:15 for their weekly adventure. Also at 9:15, we have pottery with instruction available down in the pottery studio. We're going to move to 10:15 where we have a brain boot camp going on. That'll be in the social center. You do need to sign up for that. And at 10:30, the Disciple Men's Bible Study Group will be down at the game room at the Woodlands. At 10:45, it's time for table tennis. This is a playing clinic. That's in the Tarpon room. And our Susie Cuba goes to Rum Runners at 11 o'clock. And we round out our morning activities with an 11:30 Health Connections class, Bar Ball Edition, and the Health Club. Now here's Dora. She's going to tell you what's going on this afternoon.
We're going to start at 12 o'clock with Mahjong, and that's in the Sable Room at the Woodlands. At 12:45, we have Zumba Gold Fitness. That's in the Health Club. Sign up is required. At 1:15, we have Samba Card Game, and that's in the Resident Activity Center on the island. Tone Chimes is at 1:15. That's in the Osprey Room. And at 1:45, it's Balance, Stability, and Strength in the Health Club. At 2 o'clock, we have the Beady-Eyed Bead Club. And at 3 o'clock, we have Pilates Bar Fusion in the Health Club on the island. And at 3:15, we have the Shell Point Singers Rehearsal, and that's in the choir room. At 3:45, we have Cane Defense. That's in the Health Club. Sign up is required. And at 5 o'clock, we have singles tables at the Crystal Dining Room. And at 6:30, our final activity for the day is Duplicate Bridge, and that's in the game room at the Woodlands. Thanks, and we'll see you back here again tomorrow.
Hello, I'm Teri Kollath with your Academy information from Monday, the 14th of November. At 10 o'clock, we have a photojournalism class focusing on the least of these, taking place in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands. You can sign up right at the door. At 10:15, we have an iPad class, and the topic is calendar. This is taking place in the Manatee Room on the island, and sign up is required. At 10:30, we have Anatomy of Words in the Oak Room at the Woodlands, and all are welcome. At 12 o'clock, it's time for lunch, conversation, and French. This takes place at the Crystal Dining Room on the island, and sign up is required. At 1:15, the Interwarriors, 1918 to 1939, continues in the Social Center of the island for those who have signed up. At 1:15, our basic iPad class continues in the Teaching Center on the island. Also at 1:15, iPhone, Is It Time to Change Your Phone? Continues in the Manatee Room on the island. I'd like to tell you about some new classes coming tomorrow. We have Car Fit with members of the Lee County Sheriff's Association and Abbey Services. And we have Photojournalism, the least of these, with Dave Singer of Teledora. We have Partition, How England Managed the Separation of Southern Ireland, Pakistan, and India, with Professor Adrian Kerr.
Menus for Monday. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter is roast beef with mashed potatoes and creamed spinach. For dinner, they're featuring their dinner buffet for $14.95. The soup of the day is Senate bean. In the Island Cafe, the sandwich special is a grilled 3-cheese sandwich on challah with a cup of soup for $7.95. And the Palm Grill is closed on Mondays. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm David Pavey, and with me are two of my neighbors, Dick and DJ Prescott. Welcome, friends. It's nice to have you with us today.
Nice to be here. Thank you for inviting us, David.
Well, of course, you know the purpose of this is to talk a little bit about the Alpha course, and we're excited because we're starting again in January. This is a 10-week course that runs from January the 10th until March the 14th. And the purpose of the course, of course, is to give a basic presentation of the essential elements of the Christian message. So this is for people who don't go to church very often, people who do go but would like a refresher course about what it's all about. And we begin at 4:30 every Tuesday for that 10-week period at 4:30 p.m. at the Grand Cypress Room. And we conclude promptly at 6:45. And each evening is comprised of 3 phases: a nice cooked meal that's provided by the Palm Grill, and then a video featuring the message, and then a half hour or so for a small group discussion when we pull apart what we've heard and we share our journey and we learn from each other, basically. The important thing of this particular afternoon is that now is the time to sign up. We have about 30 places left that are available, and so we want people to call the village church and to sign up if this rings their bell or floats their boat or whatever we say around here. So Dick and DJ, it's so good to have you. And I wonder...
Thank you for having us, David.
Yeah. What was it that first prompted you to take the Alpha course?
Well, I'm, of course, never heard of Alpha here, but I did attend service at Holy Trinity Church in London. And there I heard about the Alpha course, and that's where the Alpha course originated.
That was way back in '77, I think.
Yes, long ago.
Long ago. I just jotted this down somewhere that it has now been used by 27 million people in 159 countries, 112 languages, and in the United States, every major denomination has used this as a presentation of the Christian message. So.
Yes, it's spread worldwide, and it is throughout America.
That's reaching a lot of people.
So what was it, getting back to the question, that tweaked your interest?
Well, being a resident of Shell Point, of course, I picked up on this, that it was given here, and I thought, well, absolutely. I heard nothing but praise in Europe for the Alpha course, and I thought it would be interesting to take it, and so DJ and I signed up.
Excellent. Is there any particular aspect of it that you enjoyed as looking back? Maybe you'd like to answer that one, DJ?
Well, for myself, not having the benefit of a Christian background, I was curious about it, and having seen Nicky Gumbel in person, I was impressed with what he had to say. So I started out as being mainly a listener, and then I became more involved, asking questions, becoming more familiar with the people. And you mentioned friendships. We have maintained an Alpha reunion class on the last Thursday of every month. So we're now very close with about 7 other people.
Wonderful.
And we look forward to meeting them, and we share fellowship and desserts and everything. And we keep delving farther and farther. And I'm learning more, speaking up more. So we signed up again. We enjoyed it so much.
That's wonderful. You're not the only ones. So that's really good. We'll hope that you will take this seriously and perhaps call the Village Church today to 454-2147 and sign up for the Alpha course. And we'll look forward to seeing you there. So David Pavey here, and Dick and DJ signing off, and thanking you for tuning in once again to Village Church Connections.
Thanks for joining us for today's program. Return tomorrow when Paul Neighbors will talk about his computer clinics available here for residents. Robin Church will give us an update from the all-new Sea Grape Salon and Spa. Until then, I'm Rich Nation, and this has been Shell Point Today for Monday, November the 14th. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.